That was a defining moment that changed my life. It made me think, what should I do to be noticed? How am I going to get my first client? We had no papers. We have a bag full of hopes.
Just from sitting in the lobby, handing out your business card.
I sat my butt in the lobby of the building where I was residing. And everybody that walked in or out, I would hand out my business card.
Welcome back to another episode of My First Commission. My name's Liam and I have the pleasure of sitting down with one of Miami's best real estate agents and brokers. I'm sat here with Gustavo Blatchman, the owner of Terabella Realty. Gustavo, thank you for sitting down and talking with us. I'm super excited to have a conversation with you. You're not our typical guest, right? We normally focus a lot on new agents that are within their first or second year, right? But Gustavo, you've got a really, really interesting story, right? How did it start? Tell us how you got here today.
Well, I moved to Miami in 1995 with my family, with my wife Marina and my two children at the time. I had Matthias and Thomas. Matthias was 7 years old, Thomas was 6 months. And we had no papers. We have a bag full of hopes. We had no money and we needed something to do. So at first I did everything. From bartending to gas station to car washing to anything that I could find my way. With no papers, you cannot aspire to the high paid jobs. So, but I did have a track record and I had the culture of, an Argentinian that knows a little bit of everything. The first job I got was through a rabbi friend of mine. He got me an interview with a fence company, a fence contractor, and I got a job as a salesperson. And I was happy as can be because I could say, I got a job. Well, that wasn't an easy job. I had to go everywhere, measure fences, make a sale. And I felt at the time I was the richest guy in the planet because I made a sale, not knowing that the $50 commission or $100 commission at the end of the month might add up to be $1,500 to $2,000 max. So during 2 years I did that until one day I went to the accountant and I said, how much money did I make this year? And he said, before or after taxes? I said, no, after taxes, $500. You're gonna get it, you're below the poverty level. So I said to my wife, I think it's time for change. And a friend of mine called me up a few months before and said, you're good on sales. You should get your real estate license. I remember it as if it was today. My friend Willie from my youth days said, yeah, you got to get your real estate license. You're very good. And I went to Gold Coast and I got my real estate license. And I thought I will own the world. Well, guess what? I did not own the world at first. I remember I was interviewed at the time by Coldwell Banker, legacy company. And then I was interviewed by the guy that rented my apartment, Kenny Golden, who I adored. He was an inspiration. Unfortunately, he passed. Kenny and Debbie were my first and only brokers. And I realized that I am more like a boutique guy because I don't fit in any molds. I did not want to be another caller on the phone calling from the same company as everybody else. I want to be an out-of-the-box broker that can do anything that was needed to service my clients. And there's being that we have rules, we have regulations, we have laws. I wanted to be within a place where I could ask the question and execute an action plan at the time. Clearly the beginnings were very, very, very difficult. I remember going to the office. I still was doing the fence job, but it was on and off. So I had the time to be in the office, and about 4 months in the business, I went to my broker and I said, hey, what's going on? The phone doesn't ring. That was a defining moment. The question was the right question at the right time for me. He said to me, this is my cell phone. This is where the phone rings. You have a cell phone? I said, yes, right here. Who knows the number? Who knows you do real estate? Who knows where you are? Why would they call you? I said, That day changed my life.
That was the day.
That was a moment, that was a defining moment that changed my life. The reason is that it made me think, what should I do to be noticed? how am I going to get my first client? How am I going to get the feet wet? So what I did is instead of sitting my butt in the office, I sat my butt in the lobby of the building where I was residing. And everybody that walked in or out, I would hand out my business card. Mm-hmm. And I would say, hey, if you need anything, I'm your real estate broker. I live here, I play here, I can help you. And that's how I got my first listing.
From sitting in the lobby?
Sitting in the lobby. Networking one-on-one. Of course, there were 10,000 agents at the time, not like today that we probably have over 120,000. There was no social media. At the time, Windows didn't even exist. We were all working in the DOS and big books. I was defining my set of skills. I was my one-on-one, and I could talk to everybody because I speak English, Spanish, a little bit of Portuguese. So basically the whole audience within the people, the network people that lived in that community, I could talk to. So I had that advantage, and suddenly my life changed. I started getting listings, start getting calls.
Just from sitting in the lobby, handing out your business card to everyone and anyone that would stop.
The lobby later turned to be a Starbucks, or there were moving places that you would sit on and give your card when you're not known.
And so you hand your card out, you get your first buyer. Tell me about that process. Was it easy? Was it smooth? Did everything was there challenges?
It was very interesting. There's a few stories, but this one is, my father-in-law had a partner that was moving to Miami and needed an apartment. And nothing like a close relationship because the trust is there. I happened to knew his partner from my times in Argentina. So basically the connection was done. And this is something that people need to understand. And this is where we have an opportunity, and we should not be so desperate about AI. Nothing will replace the personal connection. Nothing will replace the human touch. So basically, I developed a search in the OS with the MLS at the time. I suggested the different areas. We went out the first time, we went out the second time, and then we found a unit that we liked. We put a contract, we negotiated a deal, and we closed the deal. That was very rewarding. At the time, I felt the world was mine, and then I decided to invest some of the proceeds, 20% of the money that I made in an ad. A friend of mine, actually a friend of a friend of a friend, had a property in Golden Beach, a piece of land. At the time, land in Golden Beach was about $150,000. So he said, I'm going to give it to you for sale. I want to help you. His name is Joseph. And I always remember Joseph. He's a very, very, very big developer and a good friend forever. And he gave me the opportunity, and I did not sell the piece of land, but I did market it. Mm-hmm. And when I marketed that property, I got a phone call from a gentleman in Lake Placid. And he said, I have a property that I would like for you to sell. It's in Belmead. Do you know where that is? And I said, yes. I had no clue where Belmead was. It was a waterfront home, 175 feet on the water at the time. And I said, we're going to have to market this heavily. I'm going to have to charge you 10%. My split at the time was 50-50. So I guess I earned my increase on the split by that deal. I did sell the property, and I get rewarded very handsomely at the time. It was like, I don't know, $15,000, $16,000, which it was the same income I had for 1 year of work with the fences.
I was going to say, how different did it feel getting the commission check from selling a home versus the fence?
The fence was, I would say, a bridge to real estate. I'm very thankful for having that opportunity because it allowed me to know the whole Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and know exactly where is what, the different location, except Belmead, of course. But it allowed me to know Hialeah. Everybody gets lost in Hialeah. And it allowed me to be very humble. Even when you make a good check, a large commission, you always have to be very humble, because at the end of the day, when you service someone that is entrusting you with their biggest investment, which is their real estate, you have to remember where you come from and how hard it was in the beginning. You have to respect and do the best you can to service your client. If you are representing a seller, to get the highest and best possible deal. If you are buying for someone, trying to get them the best possible deal, always be humble.
And one thing that you said a second ago was that you took 20% of that first commission check and invested it.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do that and invest it straight away?
Because I had the opportunity to represent someone, and I needed to show that someone that I'm willing to put my actions where my word was. And it translated into the biggest deal I did at the time. That year, that was the deal. And after that, my confidence level went up, and I started helping friends and family and neighbors. I remember having like 6 or 7 listings right after that in one building. So I controlled the building. That was my farming area. I was sending postcards. Just remember, there was no internet marketing at the time, so everything was graphic, 100% graphic.
And one of the things that you talked about with me earlier on, right, and we're kind of going into it, is that you own a boutique firm, right? You've talked about it. You said they're a dying breed.
Yes.
Why did you, so talk me through kind of that transition from being an agent under a brokerage to then going in and creating the business that you wanted to build?
Well, I was very grateful to Ken and Debbie Golden for giving me the opportunity to working with them. And when we part ways, they knew I was opening up my own firm. Nothing was done in secrecy like most people do. I went to talk to them and they say, yes, you're opening your own firm. I said, yes. At the time, I had 45 listings. People don't leave when you have so much meat in the game. And what we agreed upon is that I was going to leave the listings with them, but I was going to keep my split the way it was at the time of my departure. So I would make at the time, I believe I was 80%, because I was the top producer. And they pay me until the last penny. And I'm always grateful, because that gave me the force and the power to move forward without the fear of losing. And we have a friendship today, not with Kenny, because unfortunately we don't have him among us anymore, but with Debbie and Justin, his son, and Justin worked for me, the son of Kenny, for a while until he moved to North Carolina. We're close. We never lost that bond. The thing was, for me, I said to myself that I was ready to teach other people what I was doing and create a team. And I was also ready to use the 20% that I was leaving to the office into marking my own firm. It's easy to think that when you're rolling, you're a hot shot and you can plan ahead because the market seems to be on your side. Mm. That was 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, and it was super amazing. I went from, you asked me before how much I made in my first year. My first year I made under $20,000, and I felt great. Just remember that I was selling, I was coming from nothing. My second year I tripled that. Wow. I went to 50. My third year I tripled the 50, and I went to 150. So it was exponential increase. And when I left Golden, I think I was probably about 300, maybe 4. And the big challenge was, how am I going to do next year? How am I going to do better? How do I keep up with me? That's the big question, the big fear we all have. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do next? What do I have to create next? And then we have 2007.
And is that when you started your brokerage?
No, 2002.
Okay. Oh, okay.
In 2002, April 2002, I started my brokerage. And I had 5 years of awesomeness. And I went from, I remember we started Terabella Realty with my right hand, Juan Pobina, and his wife was our assistant, Maria. And in a one room, half of this studio. And suddenly, 3 months later, we are moving to our office in West Dixie Highway in the second floor. And we have 5 agents, maybe 6. And then 6 months later, we're 10. And a year later, an opportunity to have a street office came by, and we are moving our office to the street. And now we are like 20. We kept growing through the years. I think the maximum amount of agents I had was like 80.
It's a big brokerage.
It was and it wasn't. Just remember there is a law called Pareto law. 80% of what you do produces 80% of your results. So basically, the way that applies to real estate is not every agent is a producer, and not every agent will succeed. You have to have something in you that is the grit, the desire, the drive, and the commitment. The commitment to learn, the commitment to adapt. You have to be somewhat fearless, and you have to be able to pick the chef. That's in my book, The Real Estate Diet. You choose a chef. The chef will teach you how to cook, what are the dishes, how to prepare everything. I believe that I have been a good chef. And I like to educate myself. I like technology. Actually, I have a few meetings this week with technology companies that are going to offer me different new solutions for new things that are coming out of the market every single day. There's so much out there.
Yeah. So 2002, you get 5 years where every time it rolls, you're winning.
Every month I have new listings, new sales, new listings, new sales, new listings, new sales. There was a year in which I sold like $20 million just like this. And I have one deal. I remember selling a piece of land in Aventura for $5 million. My biggest deal ever. Today there's a building in that lot, and I'm part of that history. And it all came about a walk with an attorney and a developer around the golf course. And the attorney, my friend Danny Server, was saying, I want to have my own office. And the developer said, I can build it for you. And I said, I know where. So that's how it came about. And we made a deal in a piece of paper, and I went to see the attorney that had the representation of the landowner. We made a deal.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you're on a hot streak, and then 2007, 2008 rolls around.
The mortgage bubble.
Talk about that, right? Because a lot of agents that are getting into this, we had the COVID bubble, right? Markets changed.
I was very lucky because I have sold, I don't compete with my clients, but I bought places where I will move into. And I moved into this building that I didn't like, and I moved out of it, and I rented it, and I had it for sale. And I was cash rich when the market imploded. So I could take it very easy during the months where nothing would happen. And then suddenly everybody was buying somebody else's foreclosure or short sales. It was very, very, very intense. My office was doing hundreds of transactions. However, there were small transactions. I was used to the big numbers, right? So that talks to you about adapting. You have to adapt to every market, and every deal is a deal, and you don't have to underscore that. You have to really, really value and respect every deal, every client, no matter how big or small, because you don't know what the next thing is going to be. I can tell you a story about that. In 1998, a gentleman comes into my office, Joe Cabrera. I remember as if it's today. He's from Dominican Republic. He comes in with his tank top, all the Latino looks like, and my broker says, you speak Spanish, you take care of him. And Joe says to me, Gustavo, I need you to help my mother-in-law. She needs to buy a place. But I'll tell you this, if you help me, in 2 years, I'm going to buy $1 million condo from you. I said, I'll help her. So I remember that Reina was a challenge because she had an identity theft. Her credit score was bad. I got her an apartment, and we closed. And Joe came to the office and said, "You're the man. You're my broker forever. I'm buying from you. I'm selling with you everything from now on." 2 years later, maybe 3 years later, I got a call from a broker by the name of Fernando. He said, "Do you know Joe Cabrera?" I said, "Yeah, he's my client." "Well, he's here, and he wants to buy an apartment for $1 million. And he said, you're his broker." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you didn't bring him in." I said, "You didn't walk with him here. And I'm not going to be able to register you because he came alone." I said, "Put Joe on the phone. Hey, Joe, if you want to buy that unit, that's fine with me. He is not going to take care of me. He's not going to pay me." I said, "Gustavo, what did I tell you? You're my broker. If he doesn't honor you, if he doesn't register you, I'm not buying here." He ended up buying a $1.2 million unit in Puerto Vita, which later gave me the listing many years later. Many years later, he moved to San Diego. Then he came back and bought another unit with me. I remember doing some marketing pieces, and he got a picture of a view, and he texted me, "Joe wants that view." And I said, and I texted back, "Joe can have that view." So he ended up buying an apartment in the Point, and then I sold the apartment in the Point. Then he moved back to San Diego. He's in the furniture business. Many years later, he calls me up and said, "I want to buy a house, but I don't have enough for the down payment." I said, "I'll create the deal for you." And I did. And he ended up buying a property in Aventura Lakes. At the closing, of the day of the closing, we go do the walkthrough. He says, "We're going to fix it a little bit and we're going to put it on the market." I said, "You know what, Joe, come have coffee in my house." He comes to my apartment and he says to me, the wife says, "I love this." I said, "Lucky you, it's for sale. Let's talk business. I want that house. You want this. Let's make a deal." And he bought my apartment, I bought his house. I gave him a $50,000 profit. And basically I got the building approved for an FHA loan. So that's how you build loyalty, being there, being creative, knowing possibilities, learning that there are other ways to do business the right way, and the right way is always, but you can be creative.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you've kind of touched on earlier on when you said you wanted to go into you wanted to teach people, right? You created a book, The Real Estate Diet.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us about that kind of, why did you do it and why did you pick the diet analogy?
I always struggle to lose weight, every time. And I have a very skinny wife. Mm-hmm. Today I'm heavyweight. I was 40 or 50 pounds more, but I still need to lose like 10, 15 pounds. It's a struggle, you know. I'm also the father of an athlete. You know, I have 4 kids, but I have one of them is an athlete. And there's a discipline when you want to be in sports that I have the chance to observe. You know, being a dad, you're the driver at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning to the rink, and you have to be there 2 hours before school, then drive to school, then, you know, do the whole thing. And you see how they have this special grit. What they want, they have to really work for it. And that, together with the inability of losing weight for many years, allowed me to find the synergy between that and work. And I said, you have to have passion, purpose, determination. And the best way I related real estate was to the way I try and fail, because we all try and fail. We do develop marketing strategies, and suddenly I'm sending out 2,000 postcards. I have 0 phone calls. Or I have sent again, change the text, send the same postcard, and I now have 5 phone calls. So try and try again. If you fall, you pick yourself up and try again and try again. So basically, I thought that every chapter of the book blends into what the real estate new agent has to do in order to achieve goals. You have to learn. You have to educate yourself. You have to go to classes. You have to embrace new technologies. You have to spend money. You have to market yourself, not your company, yourself, to be known.
And so you say the discipline part of it, and earlier on you said you have to pick the right chef. Tell me about that. So like if I'm a new agent and I'm watching this, what do I have to look for in that chef?
Well, there's a lot of thing in this big buffet called real estate. And you're going to have offerings from companies that you don't know anything yet, but they're going to offer you 100%. For what? For what? You're guaranteeing yourself to fail. You need a coach. You need the experience. You need a good manager in the company. I'm not going to undermine any companies. You need to have a team that is there for you, or the one person that can help you understand what to do next in order to achieve that unique goal of yours. That's called a chef. He knows how to cook. He knows the recipes. He knows the ingredients. He knows how to mix them. He knows the measurements. Part of the book have forms. Part of the forms that I have is to make agents' life easy, the buyer's questionnaires. What do you need to know from a buyer? What questions should I ask today? The seller's questionnaire. Why are you selling? The coaching form. You ask them, how much have you done? How much you want to do? How are you going to get there? Make them think. Help your agents set the goals. Make them accountable for the goals. What have you done to achieve this goal? It's basic.
But it sounds like, you say it's basic, but it sounds like not a lot of, or maybe some brokerages don't do that.
I think that more and more companies are understanding the agent need for the hand-holding, and I understand that, at least. That's why I have been in business and I have survived as a boutique. It's because I was able to get a few. I don't want to have 700 agents. I think that 50, 60, 70, it's because keep into consideration that there's two types of agents, the full-time agent, the part-time agents. And then you have the agents that have the motivation and the grit and the need. And then you have the agents that they don't care if they do a deal or not. They're well off. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to have the time to service them, and if not, you're not going to be the good chef.
So you said it before we got on to the recording. You talked about the boutique brokerage being like a dying breed. There's not that many left.
It's difficult, and you have seen the merging acquisitions all over the place. I have been approached by a few, and I chose to stay independent because I like the way I do things, and I don't want to be doing under somebody else's guidelines. But to be honest with you, the market is very challenging right now, and I think that anyone that does not understand that, it's looking at the wrong picture. Now, we have hopes. I think that the fall of the Champlain Towers had created an aftershock in the real estate market. Unfortunately, the news is always too extreme, and there's a perception out there that things are bad and they're maximized by information that it's not always accurate. I think the legislation, initial action, did cripple the industry a little bit by the way of special assessments and recertification requirements and SARS requirements, and there's a lot of requirements and full reserve requirements which increase maintenance big time, but not everything is bad, and not every building is equal, and not every building has an exposure to danger. I think I would probably say 99% of the buildings are safe, but when the bad news are out there, you have to have the information, and the information has been a little bit brutal.
So. Yeah. We were talking. So obviously you had the financial crisis in 2008. right? You survived that. Then you have the period where you come back up. We have the COVID bubble, especially down here in South Florida, right? Prices went through the roof. Everyone's coming down here. I'm going to ask you to get out your magic ball, right? Your crystal ball and look into the future. What's going to happen in the next couple of years in real estate?
I think that those of us that have been in the business for a long time understand that there are cycles. And I think that we are here going here. And it depends on how we work to go here and what we do to avoid going back here. The one thing I could say that if you're in this market right now, you should look very carefully at New York City as your new bread and butter. Develop relationship with New York firms. Get in touch with anyone that has fears or concerns that may have a question. Be humble, be helpful, and you will get clients. Then Chicago is always a market that has a lot of presence here. I have had clients from Maryland, Washington, North Carolina, New York, LA, Chicago. There's a lot of states that are setting foot in Florida. There's a lot of advantages of moving to Florida, tax-wise.
So you said about the American dream, yeah. Right? Obviously, a lot of people want to move to America, right? But they come from a country like I'm an immigrant, right?
We are.
Yeah, both of us, right? We've both done this. We've both left our home, come out here. Why is real estate good for immigrants?
Well, because it's easy if you do the work. You just need to be able to network. You just need to be able to connect. Once that you connect, and you have to have the listening skills, obviously. Once that you listen and you connect with your prospect, you can provide a service. That's essential. And I think that as immigrants, knowing no one here, when I first moved here, I knew no one. You develop your presence, and you need to find ways to be known. For instance, in 2007, I have a lot of free time, so I decided to run for office. I failed miserably, but everybody knew my name.
Was that for Aventura?
Yeah.
And
again, this is part of greed. This is part of being committed to something. In 2014, I decided to run again. And again, I failed. When I decided to run again in 2024, my opponent or somebody said that I was a two-time loser. And I said, practice made perfect. So 3 times is a charmer.
Yeah.
And I was elected. And I got probably the majority. I got over 50 or about 50% of the votes. We were 3 candidates. And one of them was the AI guy. He was in every social media platform because he's a geek. And he knows how to be in Facebook and Instagram, but I did the hard work, the legwork. I was in social media because I know that too, but I also knew where the signs should be. I knew who the donors were. I knew what the message was. I failed twice. Yeah. I did not want to fail again, especially because I convinced my wife to let me do it. So I could not fail again.
That's the reason.
That's true.
That was the real reason.
And my kids were my cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I had all my kids were on board, so it was really amazing.
But why did you want to go into it, like into politics?
Well, let me ask you a question. You moved to this country. It's been a blessing. You got a ton of opportunities. You made a name for yourself, and you created a successful business. I think it's a good way to give back.
No, yeah, you're right.
If you're not willing to give back, I mean, I think that to me, I always felt obligated to do something for my community. And I will tell you this, in the first year in real estate, I joined the board of my building, and I've been in like 4 different boards. I'm even in the board of my HOA today. And that is my way to be part of something bigger than you, where people can call you because we approve an increase on the stormwater tax or the or anything, and it generates an increase on a tax of $50, and people are concerned because they don't have the extra $50, and you have to explain that the damage that flooding does is worse than the $50 a year that you're going to be spending extra. You have to be able to learn from everybody's pain and to be there for them when they need you. It feels great. It really does feel great.
And you've been in the position now for a year?
Yes.
Yeah? How are you finding it?
I feel very lucky to be part of a city commission that is amazing. We all get along very well. We're not friends, but we're very friendly. We vote. We have the same mindset. We all want what's best for the city. We have an incredible mayor that is everywhere. I don't know how he does it. And every commissioner has their own set of skills. So we are there's harmony. And obviously, again, everybody knows me. The downside for my business is that everybody may have the perception that I'm extremely busy, which I'm not.
So that was going to be my follow-up question is, how is being a commissioner helping your business, or is it having like a negative effect?
Again, the positive effect is I know everybody and they know me. So let's say if I need to talk to a developer or homeowner, they probably heard my name. Again, I don't like the phone. Calling.
If they call you though,
like.
If they call you.
If they call me, I would be on the phone for hours.
Yeah, you're not picking up the phone.
The downside is that the perception is that you're too important or too busy. And you're not more important than anyone else. You're just a guy providing a service for the city. It's an honor. I would say for me, it's an obligation. And I do it with love and with a lot of respect. And this is something that, it's been great.
Seems like you got into it for the right reasons, right? You're trying to serve your community and help your community out.
Yes. I have no higher hopes.
No?
No.
Not going to be the mayor of Aventura?
No. Absolutely not. No. That's not me.
Not you. Oh.
And besides, we all have one vote. The mayor has maybe more presence, might be the right speaker in every event. One vote. So do I. Mm-hmm. So basically, if 4 of us say no, and the mayor says yes, and 2 others say yes, it's a no. So, but I respect our commission. I think our commission is great. I love what the future of Aventura looks like. And I hope to be part of a city that is getting better and better. Yeah. And I hope to get every New Yorker that chooses to live in our amazing city.
Well, if anyone's watching this and they are in New York and they do want to leave and they do want to move to Aventura, I think...
If any brokers in New York want to establish a bridge, I'm all open for it. Because my agents will be very busy if I'm successful in this endeavor.
Yeah, no, definitely. So a lot of people that watch this are new agents or they're aspiring to get into this. What's the one skill or trait that you look for when hiring a new agent?
You have to want this. You have to be committed to do this. You have to have passion, dedication, be willing to learn, be willing to listen, and know that it doesn't happen overnight. You have to build your business, and you have to listen. Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the AI guy.
The what?
The AI guy on the commission. Mm-hmm. You talked about AI technology, right? Before this, you were talking about you've got your CRM hooked up, so it's sending texts, doing phone calls. But you talk about the personal connections. Why do you think that's so important still today in 2025, 2026 and beyond?
Because you're going to ask somebody that is going to buy, let's say, $500,000 condo or home to trust you with your advice, and you have to build that trust. AI doesn't do that for you. If I'm going to send you a check, I better believe in you. And in order for you to believe in me, you have to be able to speak. You have to see me. If you see me, and if you feel that I really care, you will trust that to be the case. There's a lot of actors out there, don't get me wrong. However, if you meant it, when you communicate, you express. And I can relate to my latest sale, which happened to close 2 days ago. A guy called me for advice about a building, and I said, I hate that building. You're never going to make a penny on that condo hotel. And he convinced me why it was the right fit for him.
He convinced you?
He convinced me. There was nothing I could say to him to move him anywhere else. I offered him 7, 10 different options. I went to preview them, video them, everything that you could do for him not to buy in that building. And he bought in that building with me. Mm-hmm. He said, you convinced me you're my guy. Because you're telling me no, and I'm insisting that's an easy sell. Yeah. You don't want an easy sell, you want to do what's right, but I want that. I said, okay, let's go for it, but let's get a good deal.
Yeah.
So I shoot low, and I got it.
So it worked out?
Yeah. Wow. If you buy right, it doesn't matter what building it is.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to sell it and not lose money. That's the goal. Service your client. Uh-huh.
So when you say like service your client, right, and they're insisting, and you've got all the data, the logic behind it. If you're a new agent, like, would you have felt comfortable doing that?
Probably not. But I will go to my broker and say, what is the right thing to do? And if I'm the broker, I would say, if you are trying to show him the right ways and he wants what he wants, help him buy it at the best possible value. Mm-hmm. So when he sells it, he has no right to say, oh, he told me to buy this. He sold me that.
Yeah. And
I have another client. I told a client of mine not to buy a pre-construction 10 years ago. He can't sell it. He will lose money. Mm-hmm. He bought it. We registered the client in 10 different new construction places. He wanted that one. I said, I would not buy it. I would not pay $1,200 a square feet in that building.
But that then builds trust on the back end.
No, some people have a degree that is higher than yours. I studied 63 hours and I got my real estate license, and then I studied the 45 and I got my broker's license. This guy was a very renowned architect. And he knew the floor plans, the site plans, the location, everything better than me. And I say, I don't see it. It's too small, it's a shoebox. You're paying $800,000 for a shoebox. I don't see it. He agrees with me today that I gave him the right advice.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So Gustavo, if you had to restart your career over today, knowing everything that you know, January 1st, 2026, you start fresh, how would you go about building your business again?
I will probably invest more in the good times than what I did. I think that I probably make the same mistakes. I probably won't change anything because it brings me to who I am today. And even you can't control the outside, what's happening in the world, what's happening around you. You can only adapt to make the most out of it. I think I would make the same mistakes again and again because it makes me who I am.
Yeah. But you can't, would you still go down to the lobby and give out your business cards?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
But that happened, that was good then.
But what about now? You got to start over.
Probably yes. I live in a house, so I don't have a lobby. Probably yes, I would do it again and again. I think that I also embrace social media, which I do. I have 2 websites, and one is a social media magnet. So I get leads all the time. I created a funnel of technology that brings expires for sale by owners, cancel listings. Every day I got my alerts, I got my phone numbers, I got everything. Everybody does. Like I said, I had 2 sites. One is local, and it has all the data of every city that I work on. And then I have another one that is a little bit like a national search engine. State search engine, not national. That has the Space Coast, Orlando, Kissimmee, Tampa, St. Pete, because you don't know what the client really wants. You may get a phone call of someone that wants to buy in Naples, and you can help with the research. And then my advice is don't go to Naples. Find yourself a Naples agent that you can work with and develop a relationship. That usually works in the long run because you may get a referral from that agent in the future.
Yeah.
So I have been very blessed on networking with a lot of people. Right now, we are working in a huge deal, and we're a group of brokers from different offices working together to achieve a $120 million sale.
Wow.
And it may or may not happen. We're looking into another deal that is $75 million. And I'm doing a little bit more of commercial because I love it. I like the challenge, and I always like to be challenged. I feel like alive when I have to solve problems. So that's me. On the other hand, I have a few listings that I'm servicing. So I got a few showings today.
Is this a busy boy?
I'm not as busy as I would want to. I'm used to having 40 listings. Right now I have 12. So I need to increase my game there. Try to be more, I can't say visible because, again, everybody knows who I am and everyone knows what I do for a living. But again, the perception might be that I'm a little bit busy.
Yeah.
And that's a setback. But at the same time, because I'm not busy, if you're looking for a good mentor, come see me.
Yeah. Definitely. I think one of the things that I've taken away from our conversation that I don't think we've had really before is you're creating relationships and not getting the immediate gratification.
Nothing happens immediately. I was telling one of my agents that is eager to close a deal, desperate to close a deal. I said, dude, there's no fires in real estate. I mean, there may be an urgency if you're about to be foreclosed, but really, if let's say, if you're an Orthodox Jew, you need to be able to observe Shabbat. If you want to go to church on Sundays, it's okay. That phone call that went to voicemail, if it's meant to be yours, it will be there. And if it's an online guy calling 10 different agents, you haven't built a relationship, so you lost nothing. Unless you build a relationship, then you can say, I lost it because of something I did wrong or something that I didn't do at all. But you need to be able to create that personal touch in order to feel that you own a relationship. And then if you own it, you lost it, that's on you. But you have to own your relationships, yes.
Yeah. Now, Gustavo, this has been really interesting, and I think anyone watching this is going to take away a lot of really good information they can use. So, Gustavo, thank you, mate. I know you got a few listens today, so we'll let you go. That's the pod, guys. Thank you very much, Gustavo.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ian. Thank you, everybody here at Gold Coast. I think I have to say this. Ever since I got my license, not once I have used any other schools other than Gold Coast. Gold Coast has been amazing to me. I knew the ownership at one time. I did some Colibri experiences trying to bring agents to my firm. And I want to thank everybody in the organization for giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience.
So there we go, Gustavo. Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking your time. That's the pod. Now, if you do want to get in touch with Gustavo, check the show notes. We'll have his Instagram, we'll have his website, his contact information. Check it out, guys, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.